Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to today's sohbet on this Monday, the 14th of October, 2024. I hope you are well wherever you are tuning into this from and having a uh, beginning of a good week, And I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Now, one question that I have been asked by people on various occasions is Islam a new religion? Now, for Muslims, the question probably sounds really odd, but for people who are unfamiliar with Islam, and there's still a lot of people in this world who are unfamiliar with Islam, then this seems like a perfectly normal question because they're unfamiliar with Islam. They think Islam is something new, that it's not something that has been around for very long. It may surprise some of these people that Islam is at least 1400 years old in its current iteration, that's in its current version. And Muslims believe that Islam is actually much older than 1400 years old. We believe that it was the religion of all of the prophets of God. Now, this is not to negate or question or insult anybody else's religion. I mean, sometimes this can be taken wrong because some of our prophets are also prophets of the Jews. They are prophets of the Christians, prophets of the Zoroastrians, prophets of other religions. So sometimes when a Muslim turns around and says that Islam was the religion of all of these prophets, this can be understood in a way that's not good by people who are Christians and Jews. But for those people who are tuning in and listening to this who are of another faith, maybe Judaism or Christianity, it's important to point out that Christianity itself came after Judaism. And in Christianity are prophets that were prophets of the Jews, are patriarchs of the Jews. Similarly, I mean, Judaism is the religion that we have today of these previous prophets recorded in the Torah and in the Tanakh. But it may well be that there are other religions that went before that that would have regarded those prophets as prophets of their own religions. Just we don't know about them today. So this is something to consider before I continue. But the other thing is, when we say Islam is the religion of all of the prophets, what do we mean by that? Do we mean that Islam, in the way that it looks today, with our masjids, with the particular styles of dress that some Muslims wear, with the particular types of prayers, often in Arabic, that Muslims use, is the religion of all the prophets? Now, clearly, Moses alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam, peace be upon him, was a Hebrew, and his language would have been Hebrew. In addition, he would have spoken Egyptian because he grew up in Egypt. And I'm not talking about Arabic, which is the modern Egyptian language, but the actual Egyptian language of the pharaohs, the one which they inscribed with hieroglyphics. This also would have been a language of Moses, just as in the time of Jesus, he would have spoke Hebrew, Aramaic, and most likely also Greek, maybe even some Latin, because at that time, what is now Palestine and Israel was a province of the Roman Empire. The educated class spoke Greek, and also the other language of the Romans was Latin. So Jesus likely spoke multiple languages. So this is something to consider because obviously they wouldn't have been reading prayers in Arabic if their language is Hebrew or Aramaic, and Arabic as a language hadn't really formed as yet. So, what does it mean when Muslims say that we believe that all of the prophets were Muslims? What it simply means is that we believe that they were all submitted to God. They all recognized that there is one God, and there's not lots of different gods, but there's ultimately only one God. Muslims today call that Allah because of the language of Arabic. In Hebrew, one of the words was Eloh, that is also referring to Allah, and the words are actually related etymologically. But at the same time, whatever name was used, it's not the name, it's the concept of the oneness of God, the concept of the creator of universes. And everything else was created by that God. This belief and submitting to that understanding this is a good question. Do you believe you are right at the expense or exclusion of the religions? There is only one creator, and we are all worshipping that same entity, but are just doing it in different ways. Well, this is a very good question, and this is a good point, because how Muslims today organize our religion as an organized religion, that itself varies, because there are different denominations of Islam, there are different schools of thought. So even within Islam as it is organized today, there is variety. So we cannot automatically turn around to other people who have different ways of worshipping God, different traditions, and say that is wrong. I'm aware there are some Muslims who do that. But at the same time, I, as a Muslim in good conscience, according to what I understand, cannot do that. And what we must understand is that all of these prophets were calling towards the same God. And they did so in ways that varied according to their culture and background. So the actual ways of worship, like we don't go to the temple in Jerusalem today and do the exact rituals that they would have done thousands of years ago. Doesn't mean that what they were doing was wrong. That's what their prophets taught them at that time. And we can recognize that. And I can recognize that as a Muslim. But at the same time, in fact, it's interesting because the method of prayer that Muslims use is actually very similar to a traditional form of Jewish prayer that they actually practiced in the temple. But whereas they would have read Hebrew verses from the Torah and from the Psalms, reread verses from the Quran, which are in Arabic. But it's interesting that the actual movements of the prayer are very similar. There's a connection there. One thing I found from reading different scriptures is that there's often the same concepts in each of these scriptures. So you can't really say it's all totally different. And when Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, came, he didn't say, I brought a new religion, but he was calling back to the religion of Abraham. Abraham, of course, was the patriarch, the father of Judaism, Christianity, Islam, also the religion of the Samaritans, and various other Abrahamic religions that are less well known. So his religion is the father of all of these other religions. Now, when we read in the Quran, those who believe, how should I fear the partners you ascribe when you do not fear ascribing partners to Allah, i.e. God, for which he has not sent down any authority to you? So which of the two parties has greater right to safety, if only you knew? Those who believe and do not mix up their belief with wrongdoing, it is they who shall have safety in the hereafter, and they are rightly guided. It's interesting that many times in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to mu'mineen, those who believe, rather than referring to a specific name of a religion. There is a place where Allah does say that I perfected your religion for you and made, or we perfected your religion for you and made for you your religion, Islam. But Islam at that time was not an organized religion. It was an Arabic word that meant submission to God. And then it says here, that was our, i.e. God's argument we gave to Abraham against his people. We raised in degrees whomsoever we please. Indeed, your Lord is all wise and all knowing. And we bestowed upon him Isaac and Jacob and blessed all of them with guidance. And we had guided Noah before, and from his offspring David, Solomon, Job, Joseph, Moses, and Aaron. Thus do we reward the virtuously excellent. And we guided Zechariah, John, Jesus, Elias, all of them were among the righteous. And we also guided Ishmael, Elisha, Jonah, and Lot. And we graced all of them over the nations. And from among their forefathers, their offspring, and their brethren, we chose them and guided them to a straight path. That is Allah's guidance. That is Allah's guidance. The guidance which was given to all of the prophets. So, of course, I mean, as Muslims, we follow the Quran, we follow our prophet, and we believe we're on the right religion, otherwise we wouldn't be Muslims. And there's no difference in that when it comes to a Christian stays a Christian because they believe that their Christianity is the right religion, and the same for any religion. But at the same time, there is a recognition in the Quran itself that all of these prophets were guided by God. And that means also that anybody who is sincerely following these prophets is also being guided by God. And this is something which is a beautiful recognition in Islam, that Allah's guidance was given to many prophets and to many nations. And it's not specific for just this one little group of people. This is guidance that was given to all humanity. And this is a very beautiful aspect to Islam that I've always been impressed with, and it's one of the things which drew me to Islam. So as Muslims, to answer the initial question, we do not believe that Islam is a new religion, but it was the religion of Abraham. And even before Abraham, it was the religion of Noah. It was the religion of Adam, because at its most basic and simple, the religion of Islam is the belief in the oneness of God and recognizing that everything comes from God. May Allah bless you all, and I wish you all to have a wonderful week. And until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May the peace and blessings of God be with you all. And also, thank you for tuning in and to supporting these broadcasts. Your support is much appreciated, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a nice day.